Hi Anna,
Hi, Tuki.
how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
Yep. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, my name is Anna. I was born in the Republic of Georgia, which is former Russia, so former United States of the Soviet Union. And when I was 4, we sought asylum in Germany because there was a civil war. And my parents literally got on a plane with my brother and I, and we ended up in Germany. We lived in some refugee centers there, and my baby brother was born in Germany. Unfortunately, we couldn't stay there. They kind of had a situation like we have now with Syria, an influx of refugees from all sorts of countries. There was a lot of turmoil in the world the year that I was born and onwards in the 90s, early 90s. So we migrated to New Zealand, and my parents are skilled. Like, dad knows some 5 languages, mum's completed applied mathematics at uni. She's a programmer, or used to work as a programmer. Dad's an electrical engineer, graduated with honors. So they're very intelligent people. It was just very dangerous back in Georgia. So they left everyone with like 2 kids. Then with 3 kids, and my baby brother was like a newborn, we moved to New Zealand. We lived in the back of a church, a Russian church, for some time. Then in a house, then moved again. Then dad would come to Sydney a few times, and one of those times he got a job here. So we moved here just before they changed the migration laws, which was really lucky. We were very blessed, and I've been living in Australia since.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like you've had a very interesting past, and I'm sure that's shaped the person that you are today. Yep. So you've founded the Butterfly brand.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, the Butterfly brand. So 6 years ago, I had to move out of home because the situation at home, I just couldn't live there anymore. So at this stage, when I was in high school, my parents had separated. So moved out. Then I lived with my mum and my brothers, and it just got really difficult. And I decided that, instead of doing some serious damage to myself, to just leave home. And that was really hard to do because in Georgian culture, in Armenian culture, family is of high value.
Yeah.
And I left my family to move out so that I could have some clarity and peace. And throughout that time, because a lot of the times I was the rock of the family, I had to be strong, put up a front, wear a mask. Now that I no longer had to do that, all of a sudden all that weight was coming off my shoulders, and so I had to process a lot of things that had happened. And in that processing, I was doing depression. And so what happened was I started writing just in actually this diary here. I just grabbed a diary that was completely free from my bookshelf, and I just started writing in it at intervals where I was overwhelmed with emotion. And over the years, the span of 2 years, I looked at it and I'm like, I'm writing a book. 9 months, into writing this, I was like, I think I'm writing a book. And I was driving with my friend at uni, and I studied media arts and production. Graduated with a degree in communication at Western Sydney University. And I'm like to my friend, I think I'm writing a book. I think I'm taking off the mask called depression, like peeling off the onion layers. She's like, why don't you name it Unmasking Depression? I'm like, wow, great idea. Yeah. So this all leads up to the Butterfly brand because then I spent a year editing it. Mum actually helped me with that. And then I started pole dancing. Right. I started pole dancing, and I was part of a showcase, and, I was told to come up with a stage name. And a few of my girlfriends were like, you're like a butterfly, you know, you're always fluttering around. I'm like, oh, I'll be Miss Butterfly. And then it was a very serendipitous moment where my intuition was yelling at me, literally, this voice in my head on an overcast day on Boxing Day 2014. Go to Coogee, go to Coogee, go to Coogee. So I went to Coogee. It was such a bizarre situation. I thought I was merging to save time and traffic. Ended up behind a bus. My phone's ringing. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? It was my brother ringing me. And he was living in Coogee at the time. He had driven past me. And so we caught up and he was going to help me publish my book. And he's like, I think it'll be better if you do it yourself. So from the 26th of December 2014 until the first week of January, I started brainstorming. And I came up with the Butterfly brand.
Wow.
And it was all to do with transformation.
I love it. Love it. I feel like everything came together and it just shaped, you know, the
Yes.
Butterfly brand, you and the Butterfly
Yes,
brand.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you think of the Butterfly brand, what does it mean to you? Like from your heart, what does it mean to you?
From my heart, the Butterfly brand means that it's hope. You know, it's a transformation. It's remembering that, you know, a fragile little caterpillar that had absolutely no chance of survival in a world filled with predators, right? Dangerous world, pretty dangerous for a little caterpillar. Then had the strength to survive, eat enough to survive, live long enough to survive, form a cocoon, live in the darkness of that cocoon, not knowing what's going to happen, and then one day emerge as this beautiful butterfly.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
That's
Yeah.
what it means.
Such a strong representation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see why you love what it represents and
Yeah.
that's what it means to you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. So now I know you've written a book. Actually, no, 2 books.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your first book. So I know it stemmed from journal entries at first, and then it, you know, like you said, one day you kind of thought about it and you were like, oh, I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about your journey.
Good question. My journey. Oh my gosh. Oh, my journey is a long one. Like I said, I think it started, you know, before I was even born with everything that was going on in Georgia at that time. And then I grew up in a household where there was maybe some physical abuse, but a lot of it was emotional and psychological from my father. And my mum copped a lot of it. And when she stopped copping that, I started copping it. Yeah. So being the eldest and the next female, and you know, in the Georgian and Armenian cultures, they're very patriarchal. You know, the male is kind of the head of the house. So that brought about a lot of growth in me. In year 11, or was it year 12? I can't remember now. It got really bad at home to the point where Mum and I were considering going to a women's refuge. But because it was my HSC year and it was already so turbulent in my life, I said, Mum, I can't. And I bailed on Mum. And so I didn't go. And anyway, finished my degree. No one knew what was going on at home, that my parents were separating, that I had moved houses. I told no one. And the pivotal point, and this all leads up to the book, the pivotal point was, there was one day where, I don't know, Dad said something and my mum was sitting there telling me, it's not you, it's him. And I was physically hunched over my legs, you know, wailing from emotion, from tears. And I can't remember what Mum said, but I made a decision in that second. I sat up. I was 16 at the time. I sat up. I literally wiped my tears. I did that. And I made a decision that everything I'm doing is for me. So this HSC year isn't for my parents. It's not for my teachers. It's not for my school. It's to prove to myself that whatever I'm going through ever in my life, that I can make it. And so I graduated with a 90.7 UAI, right?
Yeah.
And that was proof, that was physical proof that, hey, you went through some crap and you still made it.
Yep.
So that added up. Then we moved out. I was living with my mum and my brothers, and I had come back from an overseas trip, and I was really depressed to be back in Sydney. So depressed because I went back home. I went to Georgia after 14 years that we had moved from there, because we had never gone back as kids. And I came back, and it was so hard being back in Sydney, because we had to move houses, and a lot of that burden was on me, packing and moving and everything. And so I was really unhappy, and it started a bit of an interesting family dynamic between one of my brothers and my mum and I, and that continued. And I stayed at home for my youngest brother because I didn't want to leave him.
So selfless.
Yeah, I'm very close with him, and he was still young. So when I made that decision to leave, I had over a decade, no, not over a decade, I had under a decade of emotional trauma to process. And so when I did move out, writing has always been my therapy, because writing no one can see. You know, we had a lot of censorship when we were growing up. We weren't allowed to watch American sitcoms. We weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons. So for me, books and writing, no one's monitoring what I'm reading. My dad's not going to pick up the book I'm reading and read it. So a lot of the education I got was through self-education, reading and writing. And I picked up this spare journal, this one over here, and I just started writing. And so if you look at here, so the 27th of March 2012, right, that there is the first chapter of the book, that there. And what happened was I was tutoring some students in English at that time, and I read that out to their sister. So I'm sitting in a couch over there, she's sitting over there, and she starts crying. I'm like, what are you crying for? This is about my life. She's like, I feel it. She's like, you're talking to me, you know? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then, you know, something else would come up, and I'd grab this diary and I'd start writing, and I'd write and I write, and then I'll put it down. It's like, whew, you know, I'm good, I'm done. And I didn't intend to write a book. I really didn't intend to write a book. But then it just flowed. It just happened. And then when I told the story about how I ran into my brother and I started this butterfly brand, and I realized I need to publish this. And if I wait around for a publisher to take it on, it'll be too late. You know what was funny? I realized I'm on the right track. Was the weekend before the book launch, I was sitting in a cafe in North Strathfield, front page news, a 16 and a 30-year-old took their lives. Two different families, completely happy families, like nothing to really pinpoint why they would do that. Yeah. And I didn't really read the newspaper article because I didn't have time. I was planning an event. I was just like, oh my God, I need to get this book out there. So that's how, so from that to that.
Wow.
That's how that happened.
And I'm sure there were times where you might have had writer's block or something like that. What got you through it? What gave you strength to keep writing?
You know what's funny? I didn't ever get writer's block with that book.
Wow.
I didn't ever get writer's block because I went with the flow of it. I really used it's very to the point of my life. The last three chapters I wrote in November. Funny that, November 2013. I knew as soon as I wrote them, and I was in a relationship at that time, and they're very chapters, they take you up, they lift you, right? I knew as soon as I wrote them that in in a month or two, I'd break up with my ex.
Wow.
Yeah, so it really went with the flow of my life. So I was leveling up. So my life was getting to a higher level, and there were certain things in my life, that weren't on that same level. So because I leveled up, I needed the rest of my life to level up. So if the things weren't leveling up, I had to let them go.
Wow. It sounds so empowering. And it sounds so natural, the way that you describe your writing style and in your book. What are the, I guess, key things you learned from writing this book? Like from that moment in your life, from that chapter in your life?
Tough times don't last, but tough people do. And, I learned that I'm so grateful for my darkness. I wouldn't take one day back. I wouldn't take back that my parents left their home country. They left everyone, their friends, their family, their successes, everything for us, to come here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take back that, my dad is the way he is, and that I grew up in that household where my brothers were put first and I was kind of put second. I wouldn't take back moving out and going through that darkness. It gave me so much strength. It gave me so much purpose, so much resilience. And when I finished writing that, and like the words flowed, you'll understand when you read it what I mean by that. I now know, like, I've got this anchor. I keep returning to my own words, to my own book, because I feel a higher power wrote them through me, and I was just a channel through which the words came. It taught me that everything has a purpose. You might not see it. You might not see it because you've got fog in front of you. It's blocking you. You're not meant to see it yet. Really it's hard to appreciate at the time. You will in hindsight. It's like Steve Jobs said, you can only connect the dots going backwards. I
like that, yeah.
You can only connect them going backwards. It's in his Stanford address to the uni students. One of my favorite speeches of all time. And that's what I learned. If you asked me 6 years ago, what's my goal for 5 years? Where am I going to be in 5 years? I had no idea, no clue. Would I tell you that I'd be sitting here? No. I lived every single day for the next day. Tomorrow's going to be better. Tomorrow's going to be better. Tomorrow's going to be better. Tomorrow was barely better. Barely. But today became the tomorrow I believed in.
That's so nice. So much hope, and it's inspiring.
Thank you.
And it definitely tells me that you came out a stronger person.
Yeah.
Now, for those that are going through a similar circumstance, but haven't exactly made it all the way through, what's some of the words or, some words of wisdom you can impart onto them?
Sure, that's a great question. Words of wisdom. Look, darkness is not the opposite of light. Darkness is just the absence of light. Shine whatever light you can every day. If the only thing you can do today is just to get up and show up, that's enough. You are enough just by doing that, because a lot of the times it's those subconscious beliefs that sabotage our lives. I'm not enough. Oh, I went through that. I've seen that. And some people go through truly traumatic experiences. Like, I've known girlfriends who've been raped. And I have seen like spectrums of how that has affected different people, the meaning they've applied to that story, right? As Tony Robbins says, we are the meaning that we apply to whatever happens in our life. And so if you're going through that darkness, each person has a choice, right? You choose what story you apply to that. So you can apply a story of victimhood and self-pity. Oh, this happened to me. Oh, my life, that, right? or you can apply a story of empowerment. This happened to me and I got through that, and my support network helped me through that. The other thing I would recommend is call a helpline. You know, at the back of my book is a list of different helplines you can call in Australia. There are professional people on the other side, and everything you tell them is kept confidential. Another thing many people don't know is there is a mental health government scheme. And if you go to your doctor and your doctor, just ask your doctor, say, look, I'm going through some tough things. Can you please give me a recommendation to see a psychologist? You actually have 15 complimentary sessions a year, and use them. Like, I went to a psychologist before I made the decision to move out. I did only go 3 times to see her because then I had made my decision. I'm very quick to make decisions. Once I decide it's done, and then I'm like, thank you, you've served your purpose for me. Then I look for my next mentor and guide. Have someone to guide you in life. Someone of the same gender, of a different gender, someone older and younger. Like when I moved out of home, I was tutoring this young girl. She is a beacon of light, and she's just so childlike. And every time I was with her, I would remember childhood. And it was so special. So I had her in my life. Then I had someone else come into my life who I call my godmother. You know, she's not actually, christened to be my godmother, but she feels like my godmother. So you have all these people in your life as mentors. And the other thing I would say is be grateful for the littlest things. Because once you shift your mindset and you see the good in your life, all of a sudden everything will look good. Even if it doesn't feel good or it isn't good, just by noticing, I'm grateful for this cup. I'm grateful for this food. I'm grateful for my home. I get to come home every day. There are people in Africa starving. There are people in Africa living in slums. We have so much here.
Yeah,
We're so wealthy. So simply changing that, and that's one of the things I owe so much to a friend of mine who I was complaining about something. This was in 2012, and she's like, Anna, stop for a second, and you've got good quality food in the fridge. You've got a roof over your head. What are you complaining about? And she said to me, she's like, there are people in Africa dying from starvation. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I complaining about?
It hits you hard.
So hard, because you empathize with those people, and you're like, hold on, how could I even live through that? So those are some of my tips for someone going through a tough time.
No, definitely useful. I really liked how you spoke about the mental health plan. A lot of people don't actually know that.
Right?
I wish it was, I guess, advertised or spread out a little bit more.
Yes.
But I believe it's called the GP mental health plan. So people can access it through their local GP.
Awesome.
And I believe it's every calendar year. So once you finish a lot of sessions, especially this time of the year, you're actually eligible for another lot of sessions.
Yes, you're absolutely spot on. I had no idea about that. My girlfriend told me 2 weeks ago, because I have a friend going through some stuff at the moment, and she's like, send this to them. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Did
can
not
we
even
do
know.
that? No, you don't. I think it's wonderful that the back of your book actually lists some helplines, some contacts for those that need it, and just a point of contact, somewhere that they can talk to that's confidential.
Yes.
I'm sure they can find a mentor, someone they can speak to that's of similar gender, similar circumstance.
Yes.
Someone that will truly connect with them, that will sort of help them throughout that dark time. Yeah. Okay. So Anna, one of the things you spoke about earlier was the difference between empathy and sympathy. Now, a lot of us don't actually know the difference between sympathy and empathy. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about the differences between the two words?
100%. They are so different. One is empowering, one is actually disempowering. So sympathy is all about, oh, I'm sorry this happened to you. You know, you're like, you kind of step down to someone's, you know, you kind of look down on them.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm sorry for you. And you give them that permission to be the victim in that situation. And what happens then is that, and this happens from childhood. Parents do this to their kids, right?
Yeah.
But I feel because I've read so much and been on this personal development journey, I'm beginning to understand why certain people, a certain part of it is nurture, a certain part of it nature. And when you like tell a kid, oh, you know, they will connect that experience and the pain and telling someone of their pain, that it's going to get them love and attention. And a lot of people stay in their suffering and continue the same story. Like, I'm sure you know people who year after year, 10 years later, same story, same drama. It's like, oh my God, can you like 10 years later, okay, can you be over it now?
Yeah.
And the reason they probably are doing that is because they get attention from it. And that attention gives them significance. They feel valued and loved. Now, that's sympathy, if you're sympathetic. Empathy is when you go, I acknowledge what happened to you and I can feel it here. And then there's some people who are called empaths. I'm a huge empath. I've got a friend in Perth. If they're going through something, I'll feel it in Sydney. I'll be like, why aren't you breathing? They're like,
how do you know that?
I just feel it.
Yeah.
I feel it. It's that empath. Yeah. So someone could be sitting across from me and I am sensing their energy. So when you're empathetic with someone, you are meeting them at eye level. You're where they are and you are like, for example, you've had a tough day.
Yeah.
Tuki, you've had a tough day. That's tough. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
You know, empathy helps you see and acknowledge where you're at to take you to the next level. So one looks down and one's like, okay, you're hurting. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like with a child. Okay, you fell down. Up you get. You know, so it's very different.
Yeah, no, I like that. So I guess for someone that's going through some mental health issues, sympathy wouldn't be very good for them at all.
Oh, no.
Yeah?
No.
Would it get them in that routine? And
It would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the damaging effects that sympathy can do to a person that, you know, is experiencing mental health?
Yeah, 100%. So they stay there. They stay and their entire world is affected. You know, everything, like I've been preparing my workshop. I'm running a workshop this Sunday and I've been preparing the work booklet for it. And one of the quotes I put in there is that everything that the world we see around us is the world that's within us. So the person that's rude to you, the person that's not smiling back at you, that's you. That's a reflection of you. So what happens is if we only provide sympathy to someone going through tough times, then what happens is that they continue that story because they're gaining something out of it, right? They have this thing called a secondary gain. It's something I've learned in NLP, Tony Robbins talks about it. Where else? And Psyche. Also learned it from Psyche. And the secondary gain is, what am I getting from repeating a certain behavior? So if they keep getting attention and they don't get attention anywhere else in their life, then of course they'll keep repeating it, right?
Because they want that attention.
Of course. We've got 6 human needs. Need for love, need for certainty, need for uncertainty, need for significance, need for growth, and need for... Oh, I forget the last one.
Is it security? No.
That's certainty. There's another one. Anyway, I'll come to me. I just learned them at UPW and now I've forgotten them. Anyway, the 4 basic ones are the need for certainty, uncertainty, significance and love. If we're not getting those in any way, we will search for them, right? And so if the person is getting significance or love from continuing a particular pattern, say of victimhood, then they'll keep it going.
Because they want it. That's what they're looking for.
Exactly. They're getting something out of it. Once you break that pattern, they will have to break that pattern. So if you keep that pattern up with, oh, poor you, oh, your day's so bad,
they're never going to break out of it.
Exactly.
And they wouldn't want to either.
Exactly, because it's a comfort.
Yeah.
It's bringing them certainty, right? Whereas change brings uncertainty. And if they don't value change, like uncertainty or change, it'd be very tough for them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It sounds like a change of mindset. They almost need to have that. So mindset plays such an important part of, I guess, giving someone hope and getting them, the tools they need to get out of depression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you were so strong that you were able to put your thoughts down onto paper and write yourself out of depression.
Thank you.
For a lot of people that, don't have the strength to do that, a simple change in mindset will sort of set them on that path to help themselves get out of that situation.
100%.
Would you agree that, I guess, a change in mindset will help them grow, will help them get out of that situation?
100%. That's what I changed when I was 16. So when I was 16, I made a decision that whatever I'm going through, I will get through. And a lot of the times what people want is not to go through the pain.
Yeah.
But you have to. I'll be very blunt. If you keep putting on rose-colored glasses and avoiding the pain, you will get to 40 and you will have a midlife crisis. I guarantee it. And I see it all the time.
Why is that? Like, why?
Okay. If a butterfly, I read this Kerwin Ray post yesterday about if someone's going through pain, you've got to let them because that builds strength and resilience, right? So he wrote about, like in science class, they learned that when a caterpillar is a caterpillar and then it goes into a cocoon, it weaves this cocoon and it's in this cocoon and it's forming to become a butterfly. If you prematurely break open that cocoon, the butterfly's wings won't be formed and the veins, the blood flow to its wings won't be formed. Those wings will be very fragile. People are like butterflies. We go through, and people don't talk too much about this, and I want to start a conversation about this, that our puberty years, that transformation? Yeah, okay, cool. We're going through physical changes, we're going through growth changes, like
hormones, everything.
And then everything
raw,
right?
Yeah.
But no one talks about early adulthood. Nobody talks about the transformative and formative years between puberty, and I'll say puberty goes until about 18, 20. No one talks about from 20 to 30.
No.
And they're horrible. I hated my 20s. I cannot. I'm 30 next year. I can't wait. I'm
done.
I'm
You're
so
done with
done.
your
I'm
20s.
like 20s yalla bye. Like I'm so done with my 20s. And they're tough. They're tough. You want to impress your peers. You want a relationship. You want to study. You need a job. You need a mortgage.
You want everything.
You want everything.
You want to fit in. Your peer pressure, everything influences you.
Exactly.
You're shaped by so many things. I mean, I'm sure we'll look back and we'll think, why do we even do that in our 20s?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're there, right? And they can be very painful for people, for different people on different levels at different times. And because we are so aware and conscious in our early 20s as well, because we're now adults, we are now creating this life, a life that we haven't exactly been educated with the right tools to create, because our schooling system, our university system is not giving us a life education. Yeah. It's giving us a factory education. It's 200 years old. It's very old.
No one prepares us for these things.
No. So let's take it back to pain. What happens is, if between the ages of, say, 16 and 27, This person's like, oh, everything's fine. Or nah, that didn't hurt. Or they put a band-aid solution on it. What happens is there's only so many band-aids you can put on a like heart where you need
on a wound.
On a wound where you need maybe stitching or open heart surgery or something, right?
Yep.
If you break an arm or a leg, do you need to rest it?
Yep.
Do you need to put it up?
Yep.
Does it go in a like cast?
Yep.
Okay.
You gotta give it time to heal.
Got to give it time to heal. Do you have to acknowledge that it's broken in the first place?
Yep, you can't be in denial.
Right? Now, what people do because they can't see this with their emotions, they don't acknowledge that. And you know what? Depression, anxiety, all of those, they're not them. They're byproducts of something else. And so once you rip, that's why I say I was taking off the mask and peeling the onion. Because once you take off, okay, I've got anxiety. What is anxiety? You're anxious. You're nervous about something. What is nervousness? Then ask yourself, what am I nervous about? What in my life has pressure? Is that very different to saying I'm anxious all the time?
It is. It is different. It's acknowledging it. It's actually addressing it.
Yes. Yep. So what is giving me pressure in my life? Once you can pinpoint what is giving you pressure, can you then acknowledge, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, that's not really a priority. Can the pressure be then lifted?
It can. Once you know where it is, where it comes from.
Right.
Yep.
Depression. I learned from NLP, no one's actually, like depression, you have to do depression, right? It's something you do physically and mentally.
How do you do that? Is it in your posture? Is it
everything.
Okay.
If I sat like this, what can you tell me about me?
Shoulders are slouched. You're looking down.
What kind of person would I be?
Sad.
Yeah. Now if I do this.
Happy. Much more engaged.
Yes.
Yep. Ready for anything.
2 millimeter difference. That's it. That's it. So if you feel like you're going back into some sort of darkness or depression, sit up. And I always do this. I put my hand here, right? And all of a sudden I'm confident. I'm certain. I've got this, you know. Here I'm like, oh my God, I'm so worried. You know, you never see a happy person do this.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you can't be happy like this. You can't. It's physically impossible, right? So when you acknowledge your pain, you write it down. Have to write it down. It's real when you write it down. When you acknowledge it or tell someone or say it, and you know, we've got these smartphones, audio record it, acknowledge it. That is when you can peel off those layers and go, okay, what is actually behind this? And once you see this, what is behind that and behind this? And then all of a sudden you've got some childhood trauma from when you were 5, when you really wanted something. A parent said no, a teacher said your handwriting's ugly. I don't know, whatever it is. And you're actually not pressured by your current situation. You're pressured because this current situation reminded you of something that happened when you were 5.
It's pre-existing. It
Exactly.
goes backwards.
Yes.
Yep.
And then you keep shoving it aside. Oh, it's too hard. It's too hard basket to deal with. You get to 40. And what happens if you don't take out the garbage for 40 years?
It grows. It piles on top of each other. And you get to a point where it's so messed up, you don't even know how to get rid of it.
And it stinks.
Yeah. Oh.
Right? If you don't take out the garbage in your house for 40 years, it stinks. You live in a dump. Many people live in a dump.
Is that reflective of their state of mind? Is that
100%. They let those emotions fester. Instead of speaking to someone about them, instead of, you know, it's hard confronting someone. You know, if someone upsets you, you don't want to upset them with what they did to upset you, right? It's so contradictory, but we only grow with what we face. So when we face our fears, when we face our pain, when we face what's behind the depression, the anxiety, the post-traumatic stress disorders, that is when we can go through them and get to the other side.
That's so important to I guess, acknowledge what you're going through.
Yes.
Face it.
Yes.
Not be in denial.
Yes.
Because only then you can kind of come out of it and learn from it and just be a stronger person.
Yeah.
Now, similarly, I mean, a lot of people actually do have depression, but how important is it for their social network, for the people around them, to also let them feel the pain, let them go through it? Because, I mean, if you naturally see someone in pain, the first thing you're going to do is try to stop it.
Yeah,
right?
You want to comfort it.
You want to comfort
you're
them,
like,
hold
you're
them.
okay, yeah.
You know, that can have a very damaging effect and actually
yes.
make them go backwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for someone that is living with depression or has a close family member or a friend that's going through depression, what are some of the tips that you can give to them to sort of, you know, be able to help their person?
Can I share a story?
Yeah, of course.
Last year when I was publishing my second book, when I was publishing this, I had a friend helping me with stuff, and I was working on something, and she was going through some things. And a lot of the times, I'll share this, a lot of the times when we're going through any mental health issue, it's ego. It's ego.
Why do you say
it's
that?
I.
Oh.
It's this way, right? And once we stop, depression does not like gratitude. You know, the two can't coexist. If there's some sort of illness, it's got the letter I, right? But wellness has a we.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
I read that online on some Instagram post. I'm like, oh, I like this. Totally borrowing that one. So what happened was she was calling me. We were talking on the phone. And she called me, I think, the third time in one night. And I said to her, Hun, I can't help you anymore. You need to do this on your own. The biggest gift you can give someone is telling them you need to do this on your own. She then messaged me. I'm like, have you started reading my book? She's like, no. She had bought it like a few years before that. Your homework, go read my book. A few days later, I get a text message from her. Oh my God, I understand why you did what you did.
She might not have understood it right then.
No. She was very distraught. She was very upset.
Did she blame you for anything? Did she vent
probably.
on you?
Yeah, probably. I'm like, no, I've had enough. There's a certain point, and like, you will understand when you're talking to the person. I wouldn't have done that from point get-go. It's dangerous. It's very dangerous because you don't know the frame of mind the person is at and what they're going to do. I did this after showing her that, hey, I'm actually here for you and I'm holding space for you. The biggest gift you can give to someone is hold space for them. What does that mean? Right? You're sitting there. You've got stuff going on. You've got all this pressure building up, right? Holding space is Tuki, I am here. When you're ready, share whatever you want to share. And I'm going to sit silently with no judgment, with no words, and let you say. Then, and I always do this now, I ask for your permission. Is it okay if I give you my perspective?
Why do you do that?
Because some people aren't ready to hear your perspective. And if you've got someone you live with or you are working with going through dark times, they're not always ready to hear what you have to say. They just need someone to hold space for them. When you hold space, make sure that there's no sympathy involved. You're just there like a blank canvas, hearing them. That's it. Just hear them. If they're ready to have you give your perspective, say it with love, of course, and offer it to them. With an offer, they can take it or they can leave it. Who has the power with such an interaction?
They do.
They do.
That's empowering them, giving them the ability to either take it on or park it if they're not ready.
Exactly. Same with asking them for permission. If you're like constantly going, rah, 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 you got to do this, you got to do that, like smile, this, you're like, whoa, you are disempowered. Someone is telling you what to do, right? Very controlling. But people don't see it. but it's very controlling, right? So you've got to hold space for them, number one. You've got to hear them, really actively listen. Active listening is a skill. It's a skill. We learned it in drama class. The way to actively listen is when someone is talking to you, you're repeating in your mind word for word what they're saying. That way, you can't be distracted by what's going on around you. You can't be distracted by, oh, what will I have tomorrow for breakfast? And the thing is, and I'm sure you've experienced this, and women can tell straight away when someone loses focus.
Yep, especially when men aren't listening.
Oh,
yep.
Let's not go there. That's another podcast
story.
for another day.
Yep.
So be actively listening, because a person needs to know you care, right? Hear them, be actively listening, then offer. Would you like to hear my perspective on your situation? Would you like to hear a story? I know a story of someone similar in your situation. Yes, no. If yes, continue. Then offer it to them. This is what happened. What do you want to do about it?
Yeah, you give them the chance. Give them the chance to, I guess, process and actually go through what it is that they're feeling, what it is that they want to do.
Yeah. So what do you want to do about it? What do you feel about it? What do you feel is the best course of action? See how it's got nothing to do with sympathy.
No.
You have given them all the power, all the tools to fix up their own life. That's it.
And that's all they needed. But
That's it.
a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, yeah. And I've only got to know that because, oh my gosh, it's a process. I didn't know this 5 years ago. I've learned this myself and developed it and practiced it, you know, because given my book, like I have so many people come to me with stuff, you know, and I talk them through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you must have met so many interesting people, you know, from writing your book and,
Yes.
you know, from your stories. What are some of the, you know, highlights? What are some of the stories that you remember from people sharing with you?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. I had a friend, so we went to uni together. He studied a different degree. Very lovely boy, like very sensitive, very his mum passed away when he was young, Filipino boy, and I didn't even know like he held such high regard for me. Anyway, bought a copy of my book, and this year I was following people up for the launch of my second book. He's like, look, I can't come, but your first book changed my life. Like, ever since I read your book, I've been writing. I'm like, oh my God, like I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, you don't ask, you don't know.
No, and when someone comes to you with that kind of story or that kind of emotion, how does that make you feel?
Oh, on top of the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, I can die tomorrow and I'll be in peace, you know, because I just want to serve whatever gifts I have. I want to be God's gifts on earth.
Yeah.
God's hands on earth.
Yeah, sorry.
That made no sense.
Yeah.
Um,
But, you know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you would have never thought that, you know,
No
someone
idea.
would have such a strong association with your words, with your book, that sort of feeling that goes with it.
Yeah, no idea. Zero idea. And that's what I mean. You never know what tomorrow's going to bring. You've just got to show up. You've just got to show up. Sometimes showing up means taking a sick day. Sometimes showing up means going to the beach. Sometimes showing up means taking care of yourself. I'm very bad at that. Self-care for me is just like, I'm like, oh, how people. But it's important.
It is.
And I acknowledge I'm not very good at that, so I need to improve on that. That's a massive area of my life I need to improve on. And when someone now tells me that, you know, because of my book, they now write and they're going through something tough and they use writing to help them with it, I'm like,
Yeah.
person saved themselves.
And you can relate to that because you write so often.
Yes.
So you know what a powerful tool that can be.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
girl, this is my 6th diary.
6 books. So you've had 6 books just
This year. Last
Wow.
year I had 6 diaries.
Wow.
The year before I think I had 5. It's becoming ridiculous.
Is 6 the most that you've ever had?
I think so. I thought it was my 7th, but turns out that the other diary I had started, I only had half finished. So I'm like, I'm not counting that.
Oh, it's almost 7. Almost
Almost there. Yeah.
But Yeah, like, I mean, you've obviously gone through depression, come out of the other end. You know, that guy, that Filipino guy that you was just talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sure the words that you've imparted on him means a lot to him.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't be there for your second book, but your first book has made such of an impact.
Yes.
That he obviously, that carried out with him.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. I have another friend. She's read it through cover to cover 5 times.
Wow.
I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, 5 times. I'm like, wow. Like, so I actually feel very humbled when I hear that. Very humbled.
You know, a wise person once said to me that a book is one of the only presents that you can open again and again and again.
Oh,
isn't that nice?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I only learnt that recently.
I love that. I really love
Yeah,
that.
it's one of the few things that you can open again and again.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Love
my
it.
favorite book. I mean, my favorite quote.
I know, it's nice, right? I think we both relate because we both love books.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Okay, Anna, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Now, earlier you mentioned a workshop, so tell us a little bit more about that. It's coming up, right?
Oh, yeah. So Sunday, I'm so excited. Sunday, I'm doing my first public workshop. It's called Own Your Inner Light, Level Up Your Life Like a Goddess or God. And it's all about writing and how to use writing to reflect, reframe, and then take inventory of your life. And then the second part of the day is all about goal setting and how to correctly goal set with a goal that is emotionally charged and a goal that is correctly framed. And that's on Sunday. It's my first public one. Last year I did it privately with my team, with my network marketing team. And this year I'm like, I need to do this publicly. So that's coming up on Sunday.
Exciting.
So exciting. So exciting. I've got a few people coming to that.
Oh, great.
So it's limited to 20 people. I've got a few tickets left. So if anyone wants to get tickets, they can get them on Eventbrite. Just type in the Butterfly brand or the Butterfly and see whatever events are active. And if you can't make it on Sunday, I know because it's like in 2 days, I've got pre-orders for February.
Ah, that's your next workshop?
It'll be the same one, same, exactly like word for word the same, but in February. So if you want to start the year just reflecting on 2018, start the year fresh with good goals for 2019, that's when I'll be doing that one next. And then I'll give you guys a teaser. End of February next year, I've had really good responses for people interested in a mental health workshop.
Yeah.
So when I'll be on my holiday during Christmas, I'll be planning that as well.
Exciting. What's in store? So watch this space.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
So watch this space. So if you want to get a teaser, come to the goal setting workshops. Food is provided, work booklets. I've got them here with me. They're so pretty. They're just,
It's inspiring. It makes you want to set your goals and just kind of get started on that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, like the activities that I share with everyone, I've done them myself. You know, so I know they work.
Yeah, it's different when it comes from you.
Yes.
Like a lived experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you can talk to it and share.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. A few other projects for 2019 that I won't share yet because I still need to frame them correctly for myself and the community that I want to impart the value on. So once I have that, I'll let you know.
Definitely. And you're always invited to come back. So, yeah. Now, we actually have Anna's books here. So this was her first book, Unmasking Depression. And this is her second book. So where can we get these?
So you can get both of those on thebutterfly.com.au. And they're actually on a Christmas special at the moment. So there's a special on each of the books. You get to save, I think, 15% on each book. And if you get them as a bundle, if you get both books, I'm doing them gift wrap. So they look like, can I show this one?
Of course.
So they will look like this. Gift wrap.
That's my special copy. So, yeah.
And they're $50 for 2 books. You save about 30-something%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they make such good gifts for Christmas as well.
Yeah, ready for under the tree. Done.
And for the new year as well to get some
100%.
started.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Open the lovely book. Show them what's inside because it's really beautiful. My designer is amazing. Yeah.
I don't want to bend it, but
That's okay.
it's like lots of
color.
Oh.
I literally sent the manuscript to my designer. I'm like, I trust you. Work magic. And then I got it back and it was like pink and black. I'm like, oh, it's in color. He's like, yeah, I thought I'd do something different. I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you trust the people you work with and you give them full autonomy to be creative. They come up with magic. Yeah, I love it. I love working with creatives. So yeah, thebutterfly.com.au. You can find me on Instagram, The Butterfly Brand, and on Facebook, The Butterfly Brand.
Nice.
So type that all as one word and a butterfly logo will come up that looks like, if you pass this book, I'll show you what the butterfly looks like. It looks like this.
Oh, nice.
So if you find that, that's the butterfly and yeah. That's where you can find stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.